My natural inclination towards the end of The Substance was to get up and walk out, and apparently that has become a norm at movie theaters for this over-the-top film. The Substance is a 2024 film. It comes in at 2 hours and 21 minutes and stars Demi Moore. Now, it's listed as body horror, dark comedy, monster horror, drama, and horror, and it's definitely all of those things. And the little tagline on IMDb says, a fading celebrity decides to use a black market drug, a cell-replacing substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. The director and writer is Coralie Farjat. It stars Demi Moore, Dennis Quaid, and Margaret Qualley. Okay, so to delve a little bit deeper into the storyline, Demi Moore is in this, and side note, she absolutely deserves awards and accolades for her performance in this. She is amazing, as are all the actors and actresses in this. We are talking top-notch performances for a very difficult film. So Demi Moore, ironically, is playing an aging starlet, right? In Hollywood machine, and she's being replaced. She finds a black market drug. She takes the drug, and just as it said, the temporary, younger, better version of herself comes out and begins to live a life of her own. And then you see the back and forth of this narrative. Now, speaking of narratives, one thing that really works for this, what I would definitely say is a body horror film, is the commentary going on here. We're talking about narcissism, selfishness, obsession with looks, obsession with power, obsession with everything, extravagance, the disgustingness of life itself. Dennis Quaid's character represents almost all that is wrong with a broken industry, right? The choices of cinematography, the shots in this film are absolutely amazing. This is a film that I definitely suggest seeing on a big screen because it goes into these zoom-ins of things and shows you almost like the horror of chewing up your food, of smoking, of laughing, all this kind of stuff, right? This is all beneath the surface. Now, the setting and the imagery and the visuals are amazing. It's giving 70s, 80s, 2000s. It's almost timeless in that way. It was so interesting to watch it because at one point I'd be like, well, I think it's this time, but then how is this car here? Well, I think it's this time, but then they're using that phone. It was very intriguing in that, and I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but it absolutely works in this. Now, there's very little to me that this film does wrong, okay? Spoiler alert there. One thing that this film does well is, like I said, is the contrast of the two people and the narrative going on with that. You're seeing Demi Moore essentially fighting with herself, her internal demons, which have been externalized. And that narrative that makes you look at, how do you feel about yourself, your relationship with yourself, with your mind, with your body. This film asks you to do all that. Now, as it's going through this, when you get into the body horror and whatnot, because as I was watching it in the theater, I was like, well, where do we get into the whatever? Trust me, towards the end of this I'm going to use the word bloodbath, okay? This film takes a direction that I'm like, whoa, how did we end up here? And I was honestly waiting for people to get up and walk out because some of the people that I saw in the theater, I was like, oh, there's no way they're cool with what's going on here. I'm talking over the top gore. The body horror, I would say it's giving The Fly. Especially if you were of the age that The Fly was a new movie when it came out, so that shock value that brought of seeing that kind of grotesqueness, that's what this was, but it went 5 steps beyond that into utter gore. But as it is presenting the gore, and I'm going to put it on the level with Terrifier, if you've seen that franchise. Obviously, I think Terrifier is worse, if you will, in the gore thing, because this movie is only gory at a certain point. But it's also showing you the gore and the horror of everyday life. It might not be a bloodbath up until a certain point, but then that point forward, it's a bloodbath. But before that, it's the horror, it's the grotesqueness of extravagance, of daily life, of Hollywood, of image, of all that stuff, okay? So the bloodbath still is feeding into the overall narrative of all those things I've mentioned. So even though you're being presented with these insane images on the screen, it's still feeding into an overall delivery and overall message that is absolutely amazing. One thing that I think I'm really seeing with horror films and thrillers these days is they are delivering these powerful, impactful messages beneath the surface, which is something when I was coming up and it was like Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy or, and Jason and all these films, they had like a narrative but not that deep, right? And so the way these films are going these days, I'm like, whoa, this is, amazing. Now the substance, I would say it's a horror film, but it literally is so much more than that, and it's very hard to describe it. I mean, when I left the theater, I was thinking how I was going to tell my friends and obviously come here and talk about it, and I was like, I don't know where to even begin with that. I'm so just blown away by what I just saw. It was a roller coaster ride. So 100% never picked the phone up. 100% couldn't turn away from it. Slice, Spice, and a Dice, absolutely run see this movie. There's a reason why it's winning awards, and probably you're going to see. I can't imagine that Demi Moore will not get something for this film. Just to watch her performance and the way she pulls off the transition of her character throughout stages is insane. It is insane, okay? She is amazing in this. So I definitely suggest going to see it. I don't want to say much more about it because it's literally that bizarre of a film. Even you watching the trailer isn't going to prepare you for what you're going to see. So I would just say if there's any warning to it, just know we're talking extreme gore and violence towards the end of it, okay? If you can stomach that, if you've seen The Terrifier and you're like, yeah, whatever, go for it, okay? Go for it. Saw the movie, go for it. You can handle this, right? So anyways, that's it. Please let me know what you think down in the comment section. If you want me to do another video that I just freely talk about this, I'm going to start doing that because so many people are asking me to do that, like almost like a spoiler version of the thing and just freely talk. Let me know and I'll do that too, because I would love to discuss this film like on that level or whatever. So anyways, that's it. I do appreciate you watching. If you're still watching, well, I do appreciate it. And until we meet back at this little screen or the big screen or whatever you watch all this mess on, I'll see y'all soon.